You're looking good, and it feels good to be with you today. Hello, I'm Kendall Brian Hunter, and this is News with the Eyes of Faith, where I talk about news from the perspective of Jesus Christ and also the doctrine of Jesus Christ. As always, item number one is Joe Biden is still president, but son of a gun, it doesn't feel like he's president anymore. It's sort of like he's kind of there, a Walmart greeter. Where is Harris? Amber Alert for the vice president. She posted that video where everyone says she looks like she's drunk. Now, I, of course, don't have a lot of experience with drinking. James Carville wants to have her campaign audited to see where Madam Vice President spent all her money. I'm all for that, for anyone. What happened? So, Trump is, like I said, Biden's sort of a Walmart greeter right now. Trump's meeting with Mexico, negotiating things already. He's meeting with Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada with Mar-a-Lago. That's sort of the White House by the sea now, is what we can call it. Now, the Logan Act. American citizens cannot negotiate with heads of states of other countries. However, it's a little bit different. Trump's the president-elect, so he's not quite a citizen. Now, he's not in office again. And what happens, this is the second time in American history where we've had a non-consecutive president. So we've been here before, but it's just not a common experience. We don't have a lot of data. He doesn't hold any official office right now. He doesn't have any power-making abilities, but he is going to be coming in office in a few weeks. And so it's kind of nice to start getting things in place for this transition of power. It's interesting because we have this term, the office of the president-elect, and the first person to use the office of president-elect, that was President Obama. It just suddenly appeared. It's not a constitutional office. There's no power. It's just, what do you call it? And so it's interesting. It's coming into play now. So it's interesting with the non-consecutive presidents. It feels like Biden's presidency is just sort of a speed bump, a hiccup in reality. And we finally have an adult in the room. And yeah, I'm aware of his moral shortcomings, but can you make a list of Biden's shortcomings? Harris. So let's all have one standard for criticizing people. Blue Sky. Now, I'm on Blue Sky. That's the current rival to Twitter. I understand it's from Jack Dorsey, although I can't confirm that. So I'm on. I'm not trolling. I'm listening. And some of the things I'm seeing and hearing really scare me. So it's kendallbhunter.bsky.social is my handle if you want to follow me there. I'm also on Truth Social X. Don't mess around with me on Facebook. That's sort of the ones where I just kind of keep family stuff, so I won't friend you, but Instagram I will. So judge dismisses the 2020 election interference in the classified document cases. Keep in mind, they're not calling it an insurrection anymore because you can't prove it. It wasn't an insurrection. It was election interference. And how much did Trump mastermind that? That was covered in his second impeachment. What do you know that Congress doesn't know, and how did you get access to it? Classified documents. Remember Biden's little red Corvette? Or I can't. Do you have Biden-itis? And under normal circumstances, my grandmother had Alzheimer's. Dementias and aging is a serious thing. But my grandma wasn't president. Someone's putting their finger. I'm sorry. I'm trying to dodge around the light, so I'm moving around. Let me try that up there. A little technical adjustment there. But my grandma wasn't president, so when she had and Reagan was out of office with Alzheimer's. Like I said, they're dropping the term insurrection. That's part of the disinformation or confusocracy, which the term I've coined to describe this. It's a mislabel, but it's stuck. because people are prone to scare tactics. Like I've been talking about in sort of the segment where we talk about feelings, fairness, and friends, about what motivates people on the left. People on the left process language differently. It doesn't refer to a thing, it refers to how they feel. If you hear something scary, it really motivates them. So, yeah, there you go. It's an interesting thing. The mislabel stuck, and it's really scorched into their brains. It's a catastrophizing tactic. This is something that conservatives talk about, is the mental health issue, mental wellness on the left. So Walmart drops DEI. They may have had some good intentions with it, and we were all for fair treatment and fair process for everyone's, but DEI is dead. Here the office of the vice president was Harris a DEI pick. Is that your number one argument against DEI? No more DEI statements at these universities. We're replacing institutional racism with institutional retaliation. That's what it amounts to. Yeah, you people with blue eyes, you're targets. And that's not a neo-Nazi statement. It's a fact. And just because I have blue eyes doesn't make me a neo-Nazi. That's just you're just replacing it, and you're just in denial about it. So, question about Brigham Young University. They got caught up with this hysteria of the DEI and have a statement in the Office of DEI and Belonging. Ask them what their status is. Now, you don't. The church is top down, but what do you do for a university which really isn't quite the church? It's affiliated. It's overseen by the seers, the prophets, seers, and revelators. But as an alumnus, do you have a voice? Because in other universities, you actually do. Read a copy of William F. Buckley's book, what's God and Man at Yale. I think that's the name of the book. And he talks about the responsibilities that the alumni have to the university. So there's a lot of news going on. It's mostly transitions. Trump keeps knocking things out of the ballpark. Like I said, you have an adult in the room. Do you want an adult, or you just want the Walmart greeter in the White House? So I have a news story. It's an adult theme. I saw it, and I thought, okay, do I talk about it? Because I want to keep this family friendly, but it highlights an interesting issue. So there's an issue. This was reported in Jewish World Review. Wait a minute. If I'm a neo-Nazi, why am I quoting Jewish World Review? Because it's not true. Jewish World Review, I recommend reading them. I've been following for decades now. Yeah, good source of information. I'm 100% for the Jews. Hebrew Hammer. So you had this couple, and apparently it was instigated by the woman who wanted to have a, shall we say, a public act. So they commenced it, and it's interesting because the man was released on $50,000 bond, and the woman was cited for indecent exposure. Now, the man was a registered sex offender, so that does have a bearing upon the case, aggravating circumstance. But if both were doing it, both legally guilty for the same thing, because it's not just one person doing one thing, one person not doing the other thing. And is this a double standard against men? And is this why DEI is dead? Because they have this double standard against men. Trump, tariffs. There's sort of been a tariff war with female Scheinbaum. Yeah, I'm all supportive of Jewish woman. It's just, you have to laugh at it. Salt Lake City had a lesbian mayor before Chicago did. So there's some things you can laugh at, but it's completely supportive of her, and hopefully she can make a difference. Tariffs, and what to do is we're trying to dismantle the Internal Revenue Service is really what this is that the U.S. Constitution, as originally written, says that there's no direct tax. That had to get changed by the 16th Amendment, which, oh, look here. I happen to have a Constitution right here. Let's see if we can find it. Article 21st Amendment, which is that's one where you two terms for president. So right here, and let's see, 16th Amendment, Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes for whatever source derived without appropriate without apportionment among the several states without regard to any census or enumeration. So right there, that's Constitution. Get a copy of it. This is the American Legion one. Any version will do, just be an informed human being. Constitution is the ground rule for fair play. So the Constitution says no direct tax, and this is discussed in the Federalist Papers. Federalist 30 through 36, pay attention to Federalist 32, talks about that. And it's how you get income without the IRS. So the reason why is you keep through tariffs, you want to have a small government. You have military, that type of security stuff. You want to Army apportion for 2 years, Navy indefinite. But you want to have a small government, so you don't need a large burgeoning government. That's what Trump's doing. This whole Department of Government Efficiency. It's like with Gore and reinventing government, that we're trying to streamline government, making it more common sense and efficient. Air traffic control is a good example of one. But if Musk can eliminate 80% of the government, federal government, like he did with Twitter, or 80% of the people, it's still up and running, it's doing better instead of these panic attacks. Yeah, there will be disruption. People will be out of work. But is that really the purpose? That turns the government into just a welfare check for people with PhDs. So you have a smaller federal government. Let me explain it this way. You have a jaywalking law, you have a city ordinance, you have a state law, then you have a federal statute. All these things make jaywalking illegal. Do you really need all three, or can you just handle it at the city level for jaywalking? So you just eliminate those two laws, and you've got more efficiency back. Loss of redundancy. So Federalist Papers, Book of Mormon, Book of Mormon talks about these things. This is what it says about tariffs and taxes and separation. So this is Helaman 7:9. And behold, there was peace in all the land, insomuch that the Nephites should go whithersoever part of the land they would, whether among the Nephites or the Lamanites. So you had the separation between Nephites and Lamanites, and what happens, there's a situation where Lamanites and Nephites are peaceful, so they could interact with each other. It's like crossing from California to Nevada, or Utah to Wendover. And it came to pass that the Lamanites also did go whithersoever they would, whether it was among the Lamanites or among the Nephites, so that they did have free intercourse one with another, to buy and to sell and to get gain according to their desire. And it came to pass that they became exceedingly rich, both Lamanites and Nephites, and they did have an exceedingly plenty of gold and of silver and all manner of precious metals, both the land south and the land north. And this is basically of comparative advantage and specialization. The same argument we had with NAFTA. We have these, it's a question of borders. You certainly have the United States and Canada, we have a different history, but a common language. We both grew up reading Shakespeare, and we have English common law, Blackstone. And so when we interact with each other, it's a little bit different with the language, with like Quebec or Mexico, where you have Catholic, you have French or Spanish. There's a little bit of a different cultural history, and you can talk about that in Federalist number 2. But it leads to prosperity, and that's what's happening with this. This may actually impede prosperity, the tariffs, so these arguments may be correct. The big issue is decoupling with China. So let's see. Early on, before the federal government was founded, back in the when they're separate colonies under the Continental Congress and the Articles of Confederation, states could tax each other, and that creates problems, which was eliminated with the Constitution. So it's kind of interesting. So I'm just hesitant, but let's just watch what happens. News from the church, they're putting more statues up on Temple Square about Joseph Smith, and it looks like they're trying to make this like the Christ Garden at Thanksgiving Point, or wherever the correct term is. So I'm all for that. It's I do miss the Christus statue and the that rotunda where they had looked like it was a planetarium, outer space. I do miss that, but let's see if this works a little bit better. So I get to the point where I've been talking about what motivates your friends who are on the left: feelings, fairness, and friends. So I'm going to talk about feelings a little bit again. And think about this expression when someone says, "I love this." Now that's a good expression of passion. So consider this statement: I love the Book of Mormon. Now think about this other statement: the Book of Mormon is true. I love the Book of Mormon, and another person says the Book of Mormon is true. Are those interchangeable statements? Well, they're not really. They're two different statements. One's a personal expression of emotion, an emotional experience. The other one is a declaration of a universal principle. This is part of the reason why you have two different parties. For some reason, and there's a Smithsonian article about MRIs between liberals and conservatives. It's like it may be hardwired into how our brain works. Those are two different things. And you have people find this emotional attachment for validity, find the emotional attachment valid, and people find the logical statement valid. And that's it's left and right. One's focusing on emotion, one's focusing on logic, and that's why you have the sex differences between men and women being left and right. And well, we have plenty of former members out there, and you're all welcome to listen to this and comment on this, who, when they hear the statement, I love the Book of Mormon, they can say, well, I hate the Book of Mormon. So how do you judge between those two statements? Someone says, I love the Book of Mormon, says, I hate the Book of Mormon. And they have a third person says, well, the Book of Mormon's true. And the other person says the Book of Mormon is not true. Those are all very different discussions. How about this? Someone says, I love black magic. Someone says, I love drinking. Says, I love AI pornography since it is a victimless crime. See the danger of just relying upon an emotional attachment, personal expressions of emotions. It's relative to the person, but it's not a universal statement. And so it's dependent upon the person. When you read Section 93, it says that all truth is independent. And emotional statements are dependent upon the person. They're not universals. It's an emotional attachment is different from a testimony, and we sometimes confuse the two. Joseph Smith talked about sudden strokes of idea, and talks about pure intelligence. He also talked about the burning in the bosom. Now think about the camper vials in the 1830s. Joseph Smith manual. Oh, this is in Teachings of the Prophet Joseph Smith, page 203, 204. He talked about these, how they should and shout and cheer and what have you. They're more like cheerleading rallies rather than meetings. And Joseph Smith wrote, and this may have been ghostwritten, but he approved of it. Hence, the Methodists, Presbyterians, and others frequently possess a spirit that will cause them to lie down during its operation. Animation is frequently entirely suspended. They consider it to be the power of God and a glorious manifestation from God. A manifestation of what? Is there any intelligence communicated? Are the curtains of heavens withdrawn? Or the purpose of God developed? Have they seen or conversed with an angel? Have the glories of futurity burst upon their view? No, but their body has been inanimate, the operation of the spirit suspended, and all intelligence that can be obtained from them when they arise is a shout of glory or hallelujah or some incoherent expression, but they have had, quote, the power. This is where you get the emotive gushing. So it says, I love the Book of Mormon, but does that strengthen your testimony? Is there intelligence conveyed? It's just the shout of glory or hallelujah, which, like I said, it gets a doom loop where you just think, okay, you have to be emotional, so you get just emotional things, and emotions just reinforce themselves, but there's just no intelligence involved, no revelation. And it works with a lot of people. That's why you get these the gushing, giggling, squealing Barbie dolls on social media that just squeal about their testimonies. I feel good when I think about the gospel, and that's an important motivation. But it's lacking something. It's lacking the intellectual component, because some can say I have exact same emotions for something else, for black magic. You have your general conference. We have our seances and our astrology charts. Howard W. Hunter said this. This is in Chapter 22 of the Howard W. Hunter Manual. I get concerned when it appears that strong emotion or free-flowing tears are equated with the presence of the Spirit. Certainly the Spirit of the Lord can bring strong emotional feelings, including tears, but that outward manifestation ought not be confused with the presence of the Spirit itself. The squealing Barbie dolls. I have watched a great many of my brethren over the years and have shared some rare and unspeakable spiritual experiences together. Those experiences have all been different, each special in its own way, and such sacred moments may or not be accompanied by tears. Very often they are, but sometimes they're accompanied by total silence. Other times they're accompanied by joy. Always they are accompanied by a great manifestation of the truth of the revelation to the heart, against the pure intelligence and sudden strokes of ideas. And so I'm not discounting emotions, but you got to realize the problem that you're processing things differently. If you're based on an emotional attachment, you can get really swayed. And so you have the intellectual attachment, the intelligence, and the facts and logical discussions serve as a bodyguard against being swayed by the physically attractive people. That's what they talk about in the Book of Mormon. They're really tall and they're robust, mighty people who have a power of speech and are able to sway people. So that's it. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more throughout these podcasts because it's helpful to understand your friends and why their minds operate so differently. Michael Savage had a book called Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, and Coulter talked about how to talk to a liberal if you must. And we're talking about the same things. I'm just not being as brash or as rude as they are because we need to communicate. So here's a life hack for college students. Get a copy of the syllabus before the first day of class and do your calendaring so you have an organized life. I recommend 10 Natural Laws of Time and Life Management by Hiram Smith. That's a good planning book that I rely upon and I review every so often to make sure I'm on track. But also if you go to your professors, they may have their syllabus online, but if they don't, go to your professor's office and introduce yourself to your professor and interact with them. And some of the best advice I got was to meet with your professor in his office at least once during the semester, maybe once or twice. Go in there with a purpose, not just to lounge or to kick back, but interact with them. Trust me, it helps with your GPA. So, life hack, Biden is a Walmart greeter instead of a president, and that's news with the eyes of faith.